This episode of Unqualified is brought to you by McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. On the drive to and from my parents' house in Washington State, we almost always stop at two particular McDonald's, one in Salem, Oregon, and another in Eureka, California. At the moment, we are in the parking lot of the Salem location, and I just finished a Big Mac and fries. Even though we are just passing through, I appreciate the familiarity and feeling of community. The other day, I was looking through my mother-in-law's photo album and came across a photo where she and her friends are standing in front of a McDonald's wearing their cheerleading uniforms. I usually call my mother-in-law New Mom, but her name is Marcia. Under the photo, Marcia had written a note, and I talked her into letting me read it here. San Bernardino, California. I have so many memories of this McDonald's over the years. My father took me there on what I think was opening day. What a thrill it was as a young girl to order a chocolate shake, hamburger, and French fries. Then there was the time when my cousin Hinda and I were given a tour and allowed to take dill pickles by the cupful out of a huge barrel. We must have eaten 100 pickles each. Everyone in my family knows the story of how I accidentally missed the ketchup container and dipped a fry into my milkshake. Now when I dip fries in my shake, it's on purpose. I remember when I was 12 years old, my mother and my cousin Noel Novak, Larry's brother, picked me up from dance class, and we went for dinner to celebrate Noel's graduation from high school. Years later, when I was in high school, we would go to McDonald's every Friday night after the football game. I wish you could see this photo. Marcia couldn't remember if they won the game that night, but everyone is smiling as if they did. Wherever your local McDonald's is, there's nothing better than that wonderful feeling of community. Well, maybe that feeling is tied with eating a Big Mac. McDonald's, I'm loving it. Wait, Susan, do your sexiest voice. Okay, I'm going to give you a line. Okay, it's going to be a little bit obscure. You have to say this. I want to dive off that cliff and swim to shore. In your sexiest voice.
I want to dive off that cliff and swim to the shore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Nicely done. Okay.
Thank you. We don't get to do this at work.
Who's our new friend here? I'm so excited, by the way.
So tonight, dear guests, or dear listeners, and dear guests, we have Susan McMartin, who is our brilliant writer on Mom, and she's a dear friend of mine, and I'm so happy that she's here. We kind of want to do a little bit of like a Hollywood insight.
Sure,
we're having obnoxious? I don't know if that sounds.
I just think that there are so many people out there that really don't know how to break into Hollywood, whether it's as a writer or an actor or a director, and I really do feel like you're going to give us some valuable insight because we have so many listeners who want to be involved in the creative arts.
I also want to grill you on your love life.
Okay.
And I also want to introduce Cassie, who's our segment producer. She just sold a script.
Yay.
Hey, guys. It's so fun sitting on this side of the table.
I know.
There's like a new pressure being over here.
She sounds sexy too, without even doing anything. I like that there's 3 women.
I know.
It's kind of cool.
Yes, and only one man with a mic, which is...
That's true.
The odds are, not favorable for us, but we'll see what we can do.
Hey, Mike. Nice eyebrow wiggle.
These mics are really good, by the way. They're very...
Amazon.
Really? Is that where you got all your equipment? Oh my God, I love it.
But Cassie, please tell us your story.
About my script, the process of the script. Yeah, so I'd been out here probably 10 years, writing for the last 7, and this was the first script I ever sold. It's called Besties. It's about 4 women who go on a road trip together to break up a wedding. It sold to DreamWorks and Montecito.
Amazing.
Hell
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's been
For a
exciting.
nice chunk of change.
Yeah.
Cassie, I'm so happy for you.
Thanks, guys.
We really are so happy for you.
I started
you
here
deserve it.
in this
because
room.
You're incredible.
And you're still here.
I'm not going anywhere.
Good.
You're going to have to kick me out
Is
that
it
door
based
window.
on a real experience?
You know what's so funny? I wish it was. Like when we go, I wrote it with my writing partner, and Mark and I would go on these meetings together, and everyone says, they're like, so tell us about the script. Where did you get the idea? And I have a really boring story of just like, well, I just wanted to write this movie about 4 girls who reconnect and go on a trip together. And then after a while, we looked at each other and we're like, you know what? We got to come up with a really great story. So then I started going in and I was like, well, Mark and I know each other because, well, I tried to break up his wedding. And they're like, what?
Cassie, I can't thank you enough for you've been like such a huge part of this whole
Yes.
podcast
Thanks,
adventure.
guys.
That's so true.
We love you.
I love being
and
here.
love
I
you.
love doing it. You feed me in the attic all the time.
It's true.
You hardly ever beat me.
At least she gives you like
sometimes
good
you
food.
kinda,
But that's when I deserve it. That's when I deserve it. You know? That's when I
when
step
you're
out of
like,
line.
oh, could I get kidney beans?
I know. Can you give me water? It's been 3 days. You know, that's when I.
Well, but the dehydration makes you look a lot better.
It's good for the skin.
Yeah. And the sunken cheeks.
Yeah.
It's very
Thank you.
Hollywood.
You guys are good to me.
This episode of Unqualified is brought to you in part by State Farm. And in honor of their surprisingly great auto insurance rates, I'm going to tell you about a particularly surprising day on set. It takes me a long time to read a script. For almost every line of dialogue, I will stop to figure out why my character would say it, how it fits in the conversation, and how it's going to come out of my mouth. Between the lines, there are larger chunks of text which describe everything else happening in the scene. Maybe what a room looks like, what characters are wearing, and what they're doing. As I often underestimate how long everything in my life takes, I know I can make up some time by reading those larger chunks a little faster. I got the script for Overboard about 6 months before we started production. I read it in my warm living room, wearing comfortably warm clothes, sipping from a warm mug of tea. Somehow, it never occurred to me that when you jump off a boat in the middle of the ocean, the water is surprisingly cold. And it doesn't get any warmer on take 2. Here at Unqualified, we love State Farm because they provide coverage that meets your needs at a surprisingly great rate. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today. This episode of Unqualified is brought to you in part by Warby Parker. Warby Parker was founded with a rebellious spirit and the lofty goal of creating boutique quality eyewear at a revolutionary price point. Sunglasses, with or without a prescription, start at $95 and, just like eyeglasses, are available through their home try-on program. You just choose 5 pairs and see which ones you like. I was surprised by how quickly they arrived, which presented me with the immediate problem of deciding which ones to keep. I loved all of them, so you can guess what happened. And not only can you feel good about how cool you look, you can also feel good knowing that for every pair of glasses sold, Warby Parker distributes a pair of glasses to someone in need through partnerships with nonprofits like Vision Spring. Offering eyeglasses, sunglasses, contact lenses, and eye exams, Warby Parker is committed to providing exceptional vision care online and in stores. So put your FSA or HSA dollars to good use on Warby Parker prescription glasses, prescription sunglasses, contact lenses, and eye exams. Try Warby Parker's free home try-on program. Order 5 pairs of glasses to try at home for free for 5 days. There's no obligation to buy. Ships free and includes a prepaid return shipping label. Try 5 pairs of glasses at home for free at warbyparker.com/unqualified. That's WARBYPARKER.com/unqualified. Susan.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait. First of all, can we talk about your name? Did your mom or dad ever call you Susie?
They called me Sue.
Sue.
And my friends growing up called me Subi.
Subi.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'd be like, Subi.
Nowadays, do you have like friends that call you Subi that you realize like these are the people that I'm closest to?
Yeah, I'm still, the people in my life are the same people that have been in my life for my entire life. I mean, I grew up in LA, and so all my closest friends are the same kids I grew up with, and they still call me Subi. My sister calls me Sue, and my some of my friends call me Suze, Sooze, Suze.
All right, Suze, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
What advice would you give to a young writer or actor or anybody who is starting out in the industry?
Wow. I mean, first and foremost, really want to do this, want to be, in
humiliated,
this really make
rejected.
the decision. And I think, for me, finding your voice, having a really unique voice, and writing your truth, write what you know to start with, especially because only you can really tell your stories the way you see stories, And I think that's, instead of trying to copy something that you've seen, like instead of, for example, Mom, don't try to mimic a Mom episode, write. In the olden days, everybody had to write specs based on shows that were already. Now people really want to see original material because they want to see, anybody can kind of emulate another show or a movie type, but show me your voice, your style, and I think that's more important, because down the road you can, if you need to do a sample of a show, your writing chops will be strong. But if somebody says, what's your voice, you'll have honed it, I
know it's different to write for TV and to write for film, especially when you're first starting out and trying to get noticed. I have friends who are trying to break into TV, but they said at times it's easier to break into film because you can write a spec and then get it to the right person, and all of a sudden there could be a bidding war, like what happened with Cassie.
Right.
But with TV, it's a completely different process where you have to start out maybe as a writer's assistant and kind of work your way up and get into rooms. And if you wanted to write your own show, you would have to have a track record behind you. Otherwise, you wouldn't get the proper showrunner. Am I completely wrong on this?
No, it's changed so much. I mean, when I started, writing for television was so different. I mean, now it is, writer's assistants work their way up. I mean, on all of Chuck Lorre's shows that I've been involved in, almost every writer's assistant has eventually become a staff writer. And for me, when I started out, I mean, not at all. I had to just write original material or spec scripts.
So then how did you get involved with Chuck?
With Chuck, it was so interesting because I had a fairly decent career. I was making a living as a writer, single mom, sole provider for my baby, and, living paycheck to paycheck. And I had somehow, I went to NYU, graduated the writing program. Somehow I managed to make a living. And then everything came to a screeching halt. Like I could not get a job. And it was, I was.
What do you think that was?
It was.
What was the screeching halt?
When I look back on it, I think it had to happen for me to grow and change and experience something that I knew.
But do you think that it was
like,
the
industry?
The climate? Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of it was also, it was, reality TV was really becoming so big that scripted shows weren't as many slots available. So that was one thing. I think, the writer's strike, so there was a lot that went into it. And during that period of time, I started writing a weekly column, which is why I've always said to you, I love this podcast because I love people who have outside projects keep going at all times because it keeps you, I don't know, creative and feeling somewhat in control of your destiny,
And we've talked about this privately too. Like, I love Mom so much, but doing the podcast has also been a way for me to express sort of my idiotic self in a format where I kind of think that no one's going to listen to, but turns out some people do.
We have to talk about your movie also. We only have a little bit of time.
Everybody go see Mr. Church. Eddie Murphy's amazing. Britt Robertson, who you guys had here.
And we love her so much. you're so brilliant. You have been,
so sweet.
I love it that in our environment of mom, I feel like I always get to look to the brilliant crew of writers in times of vulnerability. And you guys always feel like you kind of have our backs.
You're amazing. I am so lucky to get to write for you. And you set such a great tone on that stage. Everybody feels happy and loved, and you're just this joy. And you're honestly, like, this podcast is so awesome. I mean, I'm so happy you're doing this. When you told me about it, when it was like a year and a half ago or something, and I said, you have to do it. Yes, just jump in because it's great and people love it. Love it, love it, love it. So I'm so psyched.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. And I want to ask you later on maybe about like how you guys sort of figure out how you tailor writing to characters and people. But maybe that's kind of boring, but very interesting to me.
Yeah.
But the writer's room.
Yeah.
How do you guys like pitch stories, pitch jokes? What happens if you pitch a joke that you feel like is really strong but gets like shot down?
That happens like
do you get your feelings hurt, or do you just get to a place where you just don't emotionalize it?
Well, when I first started writing for Chuck on 2.5 Men, I was so intimidated by him and
Why?
And I would take it personally, and then I realized it's never personal. And, you develop a thick skin for sure. In a writer's room, you develop a thick skin, especially because on 2.5 Men, I was like there was like me and one other woman, and that was it. And the rest were all guys. So that in itself. But you also have to not fall. You have to, for me, I always have to remember this is somebody else's vision, and I'm here to help that person see that vision through. So it's not my baby, it's their baby, and I've been invited to kind of like help nurture it. When it's my own thing, that's a whole different thing.
Did you feel like the pressure to be raunchier because you're a woman? Because I'm not pressure, because I like to be really raunchy, but with 2.5 Men in a pretty raunchy environment, did you feel like as a woman, like, okay, I want to like?
I think that one of the reasons why I did well on that show was because I'm able to be raunchy and I'm not easily offended, and I can play with the boys. But sometimes it's hard because sometimes you feel like, am I betraying my sex? Like, am I using my sexuality? Am I using my raunchiness to stay there? And maybe that little voice in me that goes, this isn't appropriate, or I'm feeling a little bit offended or whatever, isn't speaking up because you want to stay in the room, And I mean, when I was younger, for sure, I flirted more in my way of when I'd go in on a pitch. I was more, you'd lead with some of that. Yeah. As now that I'm an old middle-aged washed up woman now. Now that I
disagree, you're fucking smoking.
You're so sweet. But no, I mean, now I'm like, I don't tend to lead with that anymore, but which feels so good that I don't feel like I have to. I mean, I love talking about sex. I love talking about men. I love talking about women. Like, I am very open. I've told you that from the beginning. I'm like, you don't have to worry about me on your podcast. I won't be like, ooh, what are we doing?
No, I know.
I mean, I'm very open that way, but I never want to feel like that is something I have to do to get the job. That's the difference. I think being able to have a sense of humor about all this stuff, and like not, because some people can't. Some people really can't talk about this kind of stuff, and I get that. I appreciate that.
This episode of Unqualified is brought to you in part by ZocDoc. Who gets excited about trying a new restaurant that has 2 out of 5 stars? When it comes to finding healthcare, don't ratings matter even more? ZocDoc is a free app where you can compare doctors, read reviews from real patients, and even make same-day appointments. When I finally called to reschedule my dentist appointment, I was told that my dentist had been retired for nearly 3 years. In my defense, parking was a nightmare. Through ZocDoc, I found a new dentist who had great reviews, took my insurance, and whose office was actually within walking distance. I was also able to book an appointment instantly without talking to a receptionist who made me feel guilty about not having my teeth cleaned for 3 years. My new dentist didn't make me feel guilty either, and only suggested I floss a little more often. Whether you need a primary care physician, dentist, dermatologist, psychiatrist, eye doctor, or other specialist, ZocDoc makes healthcare easy. Now is the time to prioritize your health. Go to ZocDoc.com/unqualified and download the ZocDoc app. Sign up for free and book a top-rated doctor who might be available as soon as today. That's ZocDoc.com/unqualified. This episode of Unqualified is brought to you in part by OSEA. Wondering what to gift your friends and family this holiday season? Female founded over 25 years ago by a mother and daughter team, OSEA's award-winning cleansers, serums, face moisturizers, and body products give you the results you want. Skin that looks and feels amazing. I recently got to try OSEA's new body butter, which, like their now famous Undaria algae body oil, transforms dry skin without being greasy, has the same incredible scent, and leaves your skin soft, smooth, and healthy looking. If my experience is any indication, you can count on your partner giving you a lot of compliments. This holiday season, stock up and share your new favorite clean skincare and body care with your friends and family. Unqualified listeners get 10% off your first order with promo code ANNA at OSEAMalibu.com. You'll get free samples with every order, and orders over $50 get free shipping. Gifting is always easier if you start early, so head to OSEAMalibu.com. Use code ANNA.
Do you feel more heard by, the people that we work with as you work with them more and more?
Yeah. I feel like I've developed trust. You hit after a certain amount of time, I've been now working in the Chuck Lorre world for, I guess it's almost 6 years. It's taken time, to earn that trust. It's taken time. It's also, I've had to learn when I know better when to pitch, when not to pitch, when to bring in a story, when not to bring a story. Like you feel the temperature of the room and you start to have a better understanding. And I think it's why the people who work with Chuck tend to be the people that have been in his life for a really long time. We look at Eddie, these people. And I think it's because once he knows you get him and you get his rhythm and it's like a dance, it's like being in a band. It really is. And you kind of have to know, when do I come in with the trumpet, and when do I just let the band leader lead. Yeah. So, but that took time. It took time. And, in the beginning I was so insecure.
It's terrifying.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I would go into my office and be like, oh my God, he hates me. I'm going to get fired. And then I'd come out and be like, hi, But, I think, I'm sorry, what were you asking me?
Well, I have 2 questions, right? If I may.
Yeah.
Pick your brain. One, did you ever, in the beginning when you felt intimidated, did you ever find yourself holding back when you did have a great idea or you felt was a great idea because you felt like, oh, what if people don't like it? What if it's shot down? Or did that ever affect your confidence at all in what you were creating?
That's a good question. I think that there have been times that I've sat on an idea because I could tell it wasn't the right time to pitch it. It might not be well received in this moment because we're working on another direction or the energy of the room isn't right or whatever. But if I really feel excited about an idea, I've always expressed it. And I think one of the things that Chuck appreciates about me is that I do keep coming back. Even if I'm batted down, I don't let that stop me from coming back. People in the room even say, Susan, you're like Rocky, you just keep coming back because because you have to, because I think he needs to know I can bat you down and you're not going to be scared because you're right. He hired you because he needs to know you're going to just keep coming up with ideas
and he trusts you that you're going to.
But there are times that I've had days where I'm like, oh, nothing I'm saying is hitting, I'm just going to be quiet for a while because my voice and my ideas are not penetrating. And then there are days where everything that comes out of my mouth is gold, and you're like, what happened? Okay, what am I wearing? What did I eat today? Like, what's the weather out? Yeah, I always say to Derek, like, whenever I come home, if I've had a good day, I'm scared to say it because I'm always think I'm going to jinx it. Like tomorrow's going to be horrible, But I've learned so much working on both 2.5 Men and Mom. I love Mom so much. The writer's room on Mom is so supportive. 2.5 Men was tougher. It was a little bit more competitive. It was a little bit more like, because it was more of a boys' club, I felt like every day I felt like I had to suit up with armor and be like, okay, what hell awaits me? Like not in a bad way, but just that knowing that there was a lot more teasing and there was a lot more frat house feel.
Yeah. Sim knows that.
Yes.
Yeah. And Mom is very like, I think because there's more women too, it's got a different balance.
I'm really glad. And you guys do such an unbelievable job writing for us. Allison and I are constantly we're just so grateful that you guys continue to challenge us and you just write like these incredible characters for us. And so we feel incredibly grateful. So,
oh my God, we're lucky. You and Allison make even things that we write that we're like, oh, I don't know if that's going to work. You'll make it work. And we're always amazed by what you guys do. And we're like, oh my God, it worked. They made it work, So.
Kind. I don't know if that's true.
It is true.
I could actually cite some examples where that's not true.
Before we go, because we do have to leave soon, we have something happening in about 10 minutes.
Woo!
Yes, we do. But before we go, can you talk about your movie real quick?
It's called Mr. Church, and it's based on a real friendship from my life. It took me over 12 years to get it made. So talk about, for 5 years, Sam Jackson was attached to it, and then it didn't happen, and it sat on a shelf for 3 years, and then it came off the shelf, and then and then it all started to finally happen. But so it's in theaters, and it's basically it's a totally different side of me. It's a drama. Okay. It's about, I grew up with this man in my life who helped raise me, who is the reason I became a writer. And he came into my life when my mom was really dying of cancer. And I was a very lost kid. And he was like the greatest man ever. And when he passed away before my daughter was born. And I was always really sad that she would never know him. And so I thought, well, maybe I can have them meet in a movie. I mean, that's the joy of being a writer. You can make things happen, and you can fudge life, and make it kind of come out the way you hoped it would. And so I started writing the script, and the script actually wrote really quick. I didn't outline it or anything. I wrote it really fast.
Wow.
And then it was really one of those divine experiences where it just poured out of me. And I was, I would write when Hannah was a baby. So I'd write when she was napping. I'd write when she was, watching TV. And so it's now finally happened. It's finally out. And Eddie Murphy's amazing. He's incredible in it.
So great.
And I'm so proud of it. I'm just so proud that it exists now. Like, if nothing else, like, it exists, and people who go see it are getting a little piece of this relationship that was so important to me. So
I think we all know how it feels when you work really hard for something that finally comes through after years and years of trying. It's so gratifying. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Susan?
Yes.
Could we work on a project together?
Yes.
Okay, I really want to be like, play a 13-year-old in a 40-year-old body.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like Freaky Friday?
Well, but sort of a more dramatic take.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think you could nail it.
And I give you these spacey eyes?
I love the spacey eyes. Oh my God. Let's do it.
Yeah?
Yes. But what happens is, like, a really hot man meets you, but he thinks you're like a grown up, but you're really this like 13-year-old, and it gets really kind of weird.
Yeah, I like it. So he's like, he had no idea that he was like pedophilic.
Yeah, like he's like this he's finally fallen in love, and then he has to.
Do you want to be the dude? Should we do a little role play?
Let's do it.
Okay, what's your name?
Henry
Sampson.
Henry Sampson.
You're my biology teacher, or I brought a teacher?
No, wait.
Into
Are
it?
you 40, but a 13-year-old inside you? Is that what it is? Yes, you're.
No, you know what? Let's just say I'm 13.
Okay. Oh, then
And you're
that's
just a pedophile.
Oh, so now I'm just like Sting in that
Yeah.
weird music video where he's like hitting on the students.
I'm sorry.
Okay. What was that music video?
That wasn't the cartoon one.
I don't remember that one.
God, it was when he was with the police.
It wasn't like a.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, now this is like a real drama. Okay.
Hey, Mr. Sampson.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple questions about my homework.
Okay.
Do you remember when C squared equals is supposed to like?
I'm going to have to stop you for a minute.
Yeah.
I don't know how to tell you this, but when you stand this close to me and look at me with those big blue 13-year-old eyes, I'm feeling excited and very uncomfortable. And you have to understand, I am much, much, much older than you.
Mr. Sampson, though, come on. Don't you think we're sort of on the same level? You know, sexuality wise.
Well, if we were in France, this would work. But in the States,
Maybe
I could go to jail for
maybe
this.
we should. You're not going to go to jail, Mr. Sampson, because I'm not going to tell anybody.
Please
Come
call
on,
me
just-
Henry.
Just grab my ass. Just give it a quick
Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm going to get fired. I'm
No, you're
picturing myself
not.
as like Matthew Broderick right now. Like I'm like Matthew Broderick would play this role and he'd be like,
Killing
and you know why it's Matthew Broderick?
Election.
Yeah. And you can't hate him totally. Like
Right.
you feel for him because he's in this like conundrum.
And she's awful.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's
But come on, aren't you a little bit seduced? Susan,
totally.
come on.
Oh, totally.
You are?
I am.
you.
But at the same time, it's like, this is what he would say. He'd go, I look at you and I'm sorry, but I think of my daughter. She's only a year younger than you. And yet you don't seem like a child.
I want to tell you something. I never had a daddy before.
Oh God, help me. I have to go to church. This is wrong. This is wrong. All right, let's wrap it up. I saw Sam do the old.
The infamous finger.
All right, dear listeners, I love you. We'll be back with more.
Or we just end the show. What you're saying is that we'll be back. They'll be back with more. We're ending the show. They're not going to be back. There's no more. That's it. We're ending the show right now.
Okay. Hey, everyone. I guess the show is dead. Good night and goodbye forever.
Good night,
according
everyone.
to Sim.
Bye.
Never tune in to us again.